The mysterious silence for 250 years, Earth had been silent. No messages, no signals, no signs of life. The galaxy had moved on. Other civilizations rose and fell. Empires grew and crumbled, but Earth remained a forgotten planet, once known for its thriving cities and powerful military. Earth was now just a memory, a name spoken only in ancient stories. The silence had begun in the year 2174, when Earth suddenly stopped communicating with its colonies. The human race vanished into the shadows of the galaxy. No one knew why. There were rumors of wars, alien attacks, and strange disappearances, but nothing was ever confirmed. Earth simply stopped existing in the eyes of the universe. For centuries, many thought humanity was gone, wiped out by an unknown enemy or perhaps by their own folly. But now, a strange signal had been detected, a faint, almost imperceptible pulse reaching out into the vastness of space. It came from Earth. The first to pick it up was a group of scientists on a research station far from Earth, deep in the outer rim of the galaxy. They were studying star formations when the signal appeared. At first, it was barely a tiny flicker of energy, a glitch perhaps, but they quickly realized this was no glitch. "Sir, you need to see this." Dr. Leah Grayson called out to her supervisor, Dr. Jonas Murphy. She stared at her console, her brow furrowed with confusion. The signal was weak but unmistakable. Jonas walked over and looked at the screen. "Is that Earth?" he asked, his voice filled with disbelief. Leah nodded slowly. "It's a message. It's coming from Earth." The room fell silent. For a moment, no one could speak. Earth had been quiet for so long. There had been no indication of life, no sign of human activity. And yet, here it was, a signal, faint but clear, coming from the very planet that had disappeared 2.5 centuries ago. "How is this even possible?" Dr. Murphy murmured. The team worked quickly, verifying the signal's source. They adjusted the coordinates, calibrated the equipment, and finally confirmed what they feared. The signal was real. It was coming from Earth, back on Earth's surface. The planet was just as silent as it had been for centuries. The cities that once gleamed with life were now abandoned ruins. Forests had overtaken once bustling streets. Skyscrapers stood like silent sentinels, their windows shattered, their doors locked. Nature had reclaimed what humanity had built, and the world was left in a state of eerie calm. But what had happened to Earth's population? Where were the people who had once lived there? No one knew. The silence had swallowed everything. The news of the signal spread quickly, reaching deep into the galactic network. It was picked up by the Zerothians, a powerful alien species who had established control over much of the galaxy. Their empire was vast, and they ruled with strength and fear. They had no love for humanity, and the return of Earth's signal was both a mystery and a potential threat. In the Zerothian capital, a council of high-ranking officials gathered to discuss the situation. The Zerothians had once viewed Earth as a rival, but after Earth's sudden disappearance, they had turned their focus to other parts of the galaxy. Earth was no longer seen as a power, just a distant world that had faded from memory. But now, the signal from Earth had caught their attention. "We should investigate," one of the Zerothian leaders suggested, his voice low and steady. "If humanity has returned, they could be a threat." Another leader, a younger officer, shook his head. "It's been 250 years. They're probably nothing but a few scattered survivors, if that. We have more pressing matters to attend to." The first leader smiled. a cruel grin spreading across his face. I wouldn't be so sure. Earth was once powerful. We should send a fleet to investigate. If they've somehow survived, we can neutralize them before they pose a threat to us. The council agreed, and within hours, a fleet of Zorathian warships was dispatched toward Earth. The fleet was enormous, its ships towering with weapons and technology far superior to anything humanity had ever created. If Earth had truly returned, they would need to act quickly to ensure their control over the galaxy remained unchallenged. Back at the research station, Leah and her team worked tirelessly to decode the signal. It was clear that the message was not just a simple distress call. It was something far more complex. There were patterns in the signal that indicated intelligence. Someone or something was trying to communicate. As the Zorothian fleet made its way toward Earth, the small group of scientists on the research station worked with urgency. The message they were receiving was a clue, a puzzle that, if solved, could reveal the truth behind Earth's sudden disappearance. The question was, what did it mean, and why now? Leah's eyes were glued to her screen as the signal's patterns grew more complex. Something was changing in the signal, something new. It was as if Earth was waking up and the rest of the galaxy was about to be drawn into its story once again. Then the message stopped. The signal cut off abruptly. Leah's heart skipped a beat. What had happened? Had they been discovered? Had the Zorathians intercepted the message before they could decode it? And then, without warning, a new signal pulsed through the system. Stronger this time, clearer. It wasn't just a message. It was a declaration. Earth had spoken. The scientists stood in stunned silence as the implications of what they were hearing began to sink in. The quiet was broken. Earth was no longer just a memory. It had returned, and nothing at all would be the same. Earth's awakening. The galaxy was not prepared for what happened next. The signal from Earth had been faint at first, like a whisper across the stars. But now it was clear, strong, and undeniable. The message was more than just a distress call. It was a declaration. Earth, the planet that had been thought lost to time, was back, and it was not alone. The Zorothians had underestimated Earth. They thought it was just an ancient relic, a planet whose glory had faded into history. But the moment the signal had reached them, they realized they had been wrong. The first Zorothian fleet arrived in orbit around Earth, their ships massive and imposing. They expected to find a ghost world, abandoned and forgotten. But as they moved closer, they found something different. The planet, once silent, was alive with activity. Massive structures, hidden for centuries, began to emerge from beneath the surface, activating as though they had never been dormant. Energy readings surged, far beyond what any of the Zorothians had expected. On the surface, in an ancient underground facility deep beneath the remains of Earth's cities, a group of human soldiers were working with technology far beyond anything they should have known. These soldiers, descendants of those who had once lived on Earth, had been waiting for this moment. The time had come for them to rise again. "We've got incoming ships, sir," shouted Lieutenant Kara, a young officer standing at the controls of the Earth defense system. She was looking at a holographic display of the sky above Earth, showing the Zorathian fleet approaching at full speed. "They're not friendly." Commander Isaac, her superior, stood by her side, his expression grim. "I know, they think we're weak. They think we're a relic of the past." He paused, his eyes scanning the data before him. "We'll show them how wrong they are. The old defense systems, buried deep within Earth's crust, began to power up. They had been dormant for centuries, waiting for this exact moment. Massive orbital cannons rose from the planet's surface, gleaming with cold, metallic efficiency. Shields, unseen for generations, flickered to life, forming an invisible barrier around the planet. It was as though Earth was waking from a long slumber, and it was not pleased to see invaders. Outside, the Zorothian fleet continued its advance, unaware of the storm that was about to hit them. As their ships moved closer, the Earth defense systems fired their first salvo. The sky erupted with blinding light as the orbital cannons discharged, sending beams of pure energy into the Zorathian fleet. Ships exploded in mid-air, their hulls torn apart by the sheer power of the blasts. The old defense systems, buried deep within Earth's crust, began to power up. They had been dormant for centuries, waiting for this exact moment. Massive orbital cannons rose from the planet's surface, gleaming with cold, metallic efficiency. Shields, unseen for generations, flickered to life, forming an invisible barrier around the planet. It was as though Earth was waking from a long slumber, and it was not pleased to see invaders. Outside, the Zorothian fleet continued its advance, unaware of the storm that was about to hit them as their ships moved closer. The Earth's defense systems fired their first salvo. The sky erupted with blinding light as the orbital cannons discharged, sending beams of pure energy into the Zorothian fleet. Ships exploded in mid-air, their hulls torn apart by the sheer power of the blasts. "What the hell?" one of the Zorothian commanders shouted, staring in disbelief at the destruction unfolding before him. "They're fighting back, but how?" Their ships, once considered invincible, were no match for the strength of Earth's forgotten technology. The Zorothians had thought they could crush Earth with ease, but they had no idea what they were dealing with. "I want all ships to retreat," the Zorothian leader ordered. "This is a trap. They've been preparing for this." But it was too late. The Zorothian ships that had not already been destroyed were now caught in a crossfire from Earth's hidden weapons. The humans on the ground, who had once been the most advanced species in the galaxy, now stood as the last line of defense. Their home was no longer the weak, isolated planet they had been told it was. Earth had returned, and its power was greater than anyone could have imagined. Back on the Zorothian command ship, panic set in. They had underestimated Earth's resilience, but the Zorathians were not a race to give up easily. Their fleet turned to face the assault, now firing back at Earth's defenses, but they were no match for the planet's fury. Ships continued to fall one by one. Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, Commander Isaac and Lieutenant Kara led the final push. They knew the battle wasn't over. Earth was a target now, and the Zorothians would not stop until they controlled it once again. "Deploy the ground forces," Isaac commanded. "We'll need to protect the capital, and we'll need to strike fast." The soldiers beneath Earth's surface were ready. They had trained for decades, preparing for a war they never thought would come. Now, the time had come to prove that humanity was not a lost civilization. They would fight with everything they had to reclaim their place in the galaxy. "We've waited too long," Isaac muttered, watching the chaos unfold on the holographic screens. "Earth has waited too long." As the final shots rang out in space, the Zorothian fleet retreated, their ships scarred and broken. The humans had won. The battle, at least for now, but Earth's awakening was just the beginning. The Zorothians would regroup, but they would never forget what had happened here. The signal had been sent across the galaxy, and it was clear. Earth was back, and the galaxy was about to change forever. "Get ready," Isaac said, his voice steady. "This is only the beginning." The scene on Earth was chaotic, but it was a new kind of chaos. Humanity was no longer on the defensive. They had a chance to take back what was lost. They had the strength to fight, and they would not go quietly back into the silence. The galaxy had heard Earth's voice. Now they would feel its fury. The battle for Earth, the Zorothian fleet had been forced to retreat, but that did not mean the battle was over. They had underestimated Earth's strength, and now the galaxy knew that Earth was no longer a forgotten relic. The humans had returned, and with them came weapons and technology long thought lost. It was a power no one had anticipated and no one was ready for. But the Zorothians were not known for giving up easily. They quickly regrouped, calling for reinforcements from all corners of their empire. If Earth could rise again, then they would do everything in their power to crush it once and for all. Meanwhile, Earth's forces were busy securing the planet. Commander Isaac and Lieutenant Kara led the charge, preparing for the next phase of the war. They knew that the Zor would not make the same mistake again. They would come back stronger, more prepared, and they would have no mercy. On Earth's surface, the ancient facilities continued to hum with energy. The weapons that had once been dormant were now fully operational, ready for combat. But Earth's military wasn't the only force at work. Deep beneath the surface, hidden in the underground bunkers, another force was rising. The last survivors of Earth's once great civilization were awakening humanity's forgotten warriors, the ones who had been sealed away for centuries, waiting for the moment when Earth would need them the most. "Sir, we've received word," Lieutenant Kara said, looking up from her console. "The Zorothians are gathering reinforcements. They're calling in ships from every corner of the galaxy. Their fleet is going to be enormous." Isaac stood, his face hard with determination. "We'll be ready. We've been waiting for this day for too long. It's time to show them what Earth is capable of." The ground beneath them trembled as a series of powerful vibrations echoed through the planet's crust. The ancient weapons hidden in Earth's core were beginning to stir. As the planet began to respond to the threat, massive underground bunkers opened up, revealing sleek, advanced war machines, human-made weapons from a time before Earth's silence, designed to be activated only in the event of the greatest emergency. "Deploy the defense forces," Isaac ordered. "Let's make sure they know they've made a mistake coming here." As the humans prepared for the coming battle, the sky above Earth darkened. The Zorothian fleet had arrived. Massive warships, far larger than the previous ones, filled the skies. The sheer scale of the attack was overwhelming. The Zorothians came in waves, their ships surrounding Earth, their weapons locking onto their target. But they were not prepared for what they would face. Earth's defense systems, which had been dormant for centuries, activated in unison. The sky lit up with the force of the first volley, massive energy beams striking the Zorathian ships. The impact was devastating. Ships were torn apart, their hulls collapsing under the force of Earth's weapons. The Zorathians fired back with everything they had, their weapons flashing as they attempted to break through Earth's defenses. But Earth had not been idle during its long silence. The humans had spent centuries building these weapons in secret, waiting for the moment when they would need them the most. And now that moment had arrived. On the ground, the soldiers moved into position. Commander Isaac and his team led the charge, their mission clear: hold the line. The Zorathians would not be allowed to take Earth. The planet was theirs, and they would fight to the death to protect it. As the battle raged in space, on the surface, the humans fought fiercely. The ancient war machines tore through the Zerothian forces, cutting through their lines with unmatched precision. The humans, long thought to be weak, now fought with the fury of a species that had once dominated the galaxy. "They've underestimated us," Isaac muttered as he watched the battle unfold. "But we'll make them regret it." But even as Earth's forces pushed back the Zerothians, a new threat emerged from the depths of space. The Zerothian fleet, battered but not broken, had called in reinforcements, and they weren't just any reinforcements. Massive alien warships, unknown to the humans and the Zerothians alike, appeared from the blackness of space. These ships were unlike anything the humans had seen before, sleek, dark, and terrifyingly advanced. The new fleet opened fire before anyone could react, unleashing a barrage of weapons that tore through Earth's defenses. Isaac's heart sank as he watched the new ships approach. These weren't just reinforcements. They were something far worse. The Zerothians were not their true enemy. The true threat was here. "We need to get to the surface," Isaac said, gripping his weapon tightly. "If we don't stop them now, Earth will fall." Isaac and his team rushed to the surface, where the real battle would take place. The new alien ships, though massive and powerful, were vulnerable. Their technology, while advanced, had weaknesses that the humans had studied and prepared for. Earth had been silent for centuries, but the warriors who had hidden away knew these weaknesses all too well. As Isaac and his soldiers engaged the enemy on the ground, the battle above raged on. The humans had one advantage: surprise. The Zerothians and the unknown alien fleet had underestimated the power that Earth had kept hidden for so long in space. The humans' final weapon was activated. It was a gamble, a weapon that had the power to obliterate everything in its path, including Earth itself. But it was their only chance to survive. With one final push, Earth's weapons unleashed their full fury, tearing apart the enemy fleet and sending shockwaves through space. The unknown alien ships, unable to withstand the power of Earth's final attack, began to crumble. The battle was won, but at a cost. The Zerothians, their fleets broken, retreated. The humans had reclaimed Earth, but they had sent a message to the galaxy. Earth had returned, and it would never again be silent. But as the dust settled, Isaac knew this was not the end. The galaxy had been changed forever, and the humans had shown that they were not just survivors, they were warriors. The final standard dust from the battle above Earth had barely settled when the real threat revealed itself. The unknown alien fleet, though seemingly destroyed, had only retreated momentarily. The enemy was regrouping, and they were far from finished. Earth had struck a blow, but the galaxy had just begun to recognize that Earth's return was not only a new chapter for humanity, but a warning to all who thought the planet was dead. In the wake of the battle, Commander Isaac and his team were not celebrating victory. Instead, they were preparing for what was to come. The planet's defense systems, though impressive, had only held off the invaders for so long. Now, Earth faced a far greater challenge. The unknown aliens had begun to show their true power. "We've only won the first round," Isaac said grimly, looking at the holographic map of Earth's defense grid. "The real war begins now." As if on cue, the ground beneath them rumbled. A strange, unidentifiable energy pulse rippled through the atmosphere, followed by the eerie silence that preceded the next phase of the conflict. The skies above Earth had turned dark, almost as if the stars themselves were dimming. The remaining Zerothian ships, battered and retreating, were now flanked by the alien fleet, their black ships forming a perfect wall around the planet. Leah, Isaac's trusted officer, stood beside him, her face tight with anxiety. "Commander, their ships are positioning themselves in a way we've never seen before. They're not just here to destroy us, they're here to completely disable our defenses." Isaac clenched his fists, his mind racing through the possibilities. The aliens weren't interested in conquests. They were here to erase everything humanity had built. The Zerothians were no longer the real threat. These new enemies had something far darker in mind. "They want to wipe us off the map," Isaac said, his voice cold. "But we won't let them." The team quickly gathered, preparing for the next phase of defense. Earth's military had grown exponentially in the wake of its awakening. New alliances with distant human colonies and recovered technologies had fortified their strength. Still, Isaac knew they faced an uphill battle. The true power of the alien fleet was still unknown, and it was clear that these ships were unlike anything Earth had ever encountered. Far beneath the planet's surface, in an ancient facility, humanity's final weapon, the one they had spent generations preparing, awaited activation. It had the power to reshape the very fabric of space itself. It could obliterate entire fleets or, if used, recklessly destroy everything, even Earth. But time was running out. "Activate the weapon," Isaac ordered, his voice unwavering. "It's our only chance." As the countdown began, Isaac and his team made their way to the heart of the Battle Earth's central defense core. They knew that activating the weapon would be a gamble. Its power was immense, but it was untested, and no one knew what side effects it might trigger. "We have one shot at this," Isaac said, looking at his team. "This weapon is our last resort. If we don't succeed, Earth won't survive." Just as the final preparations were being made, the skies above Earth cracked open with a deafening roar. The alien ships launched an all-out assault, unleashing waves of destructive energy that tore into the planet's surface. Earth's shields flickered, struggling to hold the invaders at bay. Isaac's heart raced as he and his team sprinted toward the control room, the hum of the weapon growing louder with every step. They could hear the roar of distant explosions, echoing in the corridors, but there was no time to hesitate. "Is everything ready?" Isaac demanded, gripping the arm of one of his officers. "Almost," the officer replied, sweat dripping from his brow. "But Commander, we're not sure if this will work. The energy readings are off the charts. If we fire it, we may trigger something we can't control." Isaac stared at the massive console in front of him, the final sequence displayed in front of him. The weapon was a relic of a time long gone, a creation from an ancient human civilization that had mastered the forces of nature itself. It could decimate the alien fleet door. It could destroy the planet in the process. "Do it," Isaac commanded. The weapon activated. A pulse of pure energy shot from Earth's core, tearing through the atmosphere like a lightning bolt, cutting a path through space itself. It ripped into the alien ships, destroying them one by one. The massive ships buckled under the force, their hulls twisting and cracking as the energy blast enveloped them. But then something unexpected happened. The energy from the weapon began to grow unstable, its power expanding beyond control. The shockwave from the blast sent ripples through the fabric of space. The stars flickered as though they were struggling to remain lit. "Commander," Leah shouted as the systems began to fail. "It's too much. We need to shut it down now." Isaac's eyes widened as he realized the truth. The weapon was too powerful. They had used the last of Earth's reserves, and now it was threatening. to tear the planet apart. The weapon was destabilizing, and Earth itself was beginning to fracture. The cosmic shockwaves from the weapon's blast were tearing holes in the fabric of space-time. "Shut it down," Isaac screamed. But it was too late. The shockwave from the weapon, though it had decimated the alien fleet, had begun to consume everything in its path. Space itself seemed to bend and warp. The fabric of reality began to unravel, and Earth's final stand was pushing the galaxy to its breaking point. In that final moment, Isaac looked to the sky, watching the remaining alien ships implode under the power of the weapon. And yet, as Earth began to shake, as the very ground beneath his feet trembled, he knew one thing: Earth had proven its strength. It had sent a message to the galaxy. Humanity was no longer weak. Humanity would never be forgotten. But now, the question remained: could Earth survive the power it had unleashed? Would the galaxy accept this new force that had returned from the silence? Or would Earth's very existence be swallowed by the cosmic chaos it had created?